So the way in which I constantly generate new ideas is I consume with a purpose. You know, I go on social media, I scroll, even though that's like looked down upon because there's something called doom scrolling, and you can find, and a lot of us editors or guys in general will find themselves stuck in that cycle. But the moment you start consuming with a purpose and start seeking inspiration and everything, that's when you can find crazy ideas. I love to watch movies. I get a lot of my ideas from movies as well, and anime. You know, I get a lot of my ideas from anime because like the animation is crazy and everything. If you actually appreciates it from an artistic standpoint, you know. But yeah, that's how I constantly generate ideas and everything.
I think that makes a little sense. It's still like an artist, right?
Yeah.
And even based on that, man, like if you're trying different things and you're improving each time, I find it interesting because the other day I was going on your profile and I see you've reposted on your stories some guys saying they're editing in Josh style, right? So if you're trying all these different things and you're trying to improve every time, beyond that, how would you say you've been able to kind of develop a style that is uniquely your own and that people from around the world who have never seen you before are able to recognize and want to replicate with your name on it?
Yeah. Going back to what you're saying about Josh's style, like that's probably one of the best feelings you can have as an editor or as a creative in general when you're known for something. But how I was able to create my own style was essentially there's this concept called constraints. And I know, and like you can see it in like fashion, you can see it in business, and that sounds like bullshit, but like it's a true concept that you can Google. Like just type in concept and constraints and creativity, and a bunch of articles will appear. But when you think of fashion, when you think of designers, when you think of like a new season of clothing, they're bound by the style, they're bound by the color, they're bound by the aesthetic and everything. And that's how they're able to produce creations efficiently and maximize their creativity. Although it sounds counterproductive because you're limiting yourself, it actually works to your advantage. Because now you set boundaries and you don't have to overwhelm yourself with creative ideas. Now, you can even see it in business. When they come up with a strategy, they're bound by the knowledge they have and information they have on the market, right? And that allows them to create a strategy that works for them and works for their current situation. So the way I implemented this in editing was I broke it down into 4 constraints that you can set for yourself. That's the color that you use, that's the font that you use, and the type of assets that you use, and also the background. And if you guys don't know what I mean by that, you can choose 2 fonts that you stick with throughout the entire video. You can choose 3 colors, the main color, the secondary color, and the third color. And you can choose a type of asset. So what I mean by type of asset, which is probably the most confusing thing, is choose an asset and stay consistent with it. So if you use realistic pictures, realistic B-roll, and everything of that nature, then it doesn't make sense to start using cartoonish assets, because then there's inconsistency and it makes the edit look cheap and like unprofessional. And then the background is just the type of background you use and everything. It's pretty self-explanatory if you're an editor, but that's pretty much it.
To check out the full episode with Josh, where he shares his story and reveals what it takes to sign 6- and 7-figure editing clients like the ones he's working with, click right here.